Hey, this morning it's an exciting thing for us because we've got and Scott, you're kind of you know Muskegon and but this guy's a mover and a shaker.
Good
in Muskegon. His name's Bob Scolnik. How are you this morning, Bob? Oh, don't blow it off. Come on.
No, I'm generally really good at self-deprecating.
Yeah, that makes two of us. I think you're like an older version of me.
I am an older version of you, although we have the same hair.
Yeah, well,
or lack thereof. Yeah.
All right, with the hair jokes, perfect. Thank you, Bob. So you're in here to promote the show you've got coming up a little bit, but I'm not going to let you get out of here without talking a little bit about you. And how you've come to become a county commissioner. You just got appointed to some bigwig deal with the governor.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, talk a little bit. Where'd you get your start?
If it's it's a little bit interesting. I used to talk about it more, and I don't much anymore. But the reason I'm here, I'm from New York.
Okay.
I was in the Army for 4 years. My last year I was stationed in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
I was an advisor to the Army Reserve in West Michigan.
Yep.
I was a captain. They sent me there from Korea. Met my wife there. When I got out of the Army, I couldn't find a job.
Really?
Really. And it was just like it's been. It's better today, but I mean, a couple of years ago, I have a degree in economics. I went to officer candidate school. I'm reasonably intelligent. Couldn't find a job. I mean, I could have found a job, but not a job that I wanted. You know, I mean, I could teller in a bank. I could have been. There were things I could have been, but I didn't want to do that. So I decided to go into business, and I did that. I'd always wanted to own a business. I just always felt like I needed to own a business. I don't know why. I grew up like that. And I started looking at franchises, and there was a franchise in the paper, an ad for a Snap-on tool dealer.
Yeah, the truck.
A truck.
Yeah.
What year was this, Bob?
This was in late 1970.
Okay.
So the territory that was open was Grand Haven and Holland. And I called and I applied for it and I met with them and everything. And luck being what it is, they gave it to somebody else.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was good for my morale, I can tell you that.
Plus all the calendars you missed out on.
No, it was bad. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was like I was disappointed.
Sure.
It was like another little blow to my ego.
Yeah.
But then about a month later, God smiled on me, and there was another opening, and it happened to be in Muskegon. So I went back, and I got to tell you, one of the reasons that it worked was because of my ability to save money.
Yeah.
And I'm serious about that. I'm just somebody who can put money in the bank and leave it there. And my wife and I had gotten married in July, and I had saved some money. So between wedding presents and the money I had saved, we had about $6,000, which today isn't a fortune. It's still a lot of money, but back then it was a lot of money. You could buy a car for $3,200.
Yeah.
So I had enough money to do what Snap-on, to be the Snap-on dealer. I had enough money to pay cash for the original inventory.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had to finance the truck.
Yep.
But so they gave me Muskegon, and fast forward 7 years, I did pretty well at it, considering I didn't know a soul here. When I started in that, Lakey Foundry had just closed, and it was like, you're going to Muskegon to start a business, and it's like this, there's a depression going on in Muskegon, and it's just like it's been. I mean, it's been like that.
Well, I mean, but one of the things, especially along the line of auto care, is that when money's low, people get things fixed.
That's true.
So that's good.
But, Andy, I'm out beating the bushes in my step van. Or not, it wasn't even a step van. I had an Econoline truck that was just, had tools in it.
Yep.
And I don't know a soul. I don't know anybody here. I don't even know where, I'm in a rented house. I didn't know anybody. Well, anyway, so over the years, it wasn't that many years, but I did pretty well.
Yeah.
I just kept going back and back and back. And you don't want to buy anything today? Okay, I'll be back next week.
Yeah.
And eventually, people, give in. Not all,
Yeah.
but a lot of them.
And you're networked now. Now you know half the town.
I knew a lot of. I ended up with a lot of people. So here's something I haven't mentioned this in years, but I remember that year it was the 75th anniversary of Snap-on, if I remember right. So they had this top 75 list for the country. There was 2,200 dealers, and I was on that list. I wasn't at the top. I mean, I was somewhere on the list.
But out of 2,200 dealers, that's quite an accomplishment.
It was, and Snap-on had this deal where when you wanted to get out of it, you didn't own the franchise; they gave it to you.
Yep.
They would buy all your inventory back at the current price, so
Wow.
it was like money in the bank.
Sure.
Well, after about 6 years of that, or 5 years of that, I'd had enough because there was no future in it. It was just like get up every day and go out and do it, which is fine. But the territory was too small to hire anybody.
Yep.
And they pretty much controlled your life. And if I was sick, I didn't make a penny. I mean, if I took a week off, that's
how it
fine. I
goes.
take all the time off I want. I don't get paid for it. So I decided I wanted to do something else. And rather than look for another business for sale, this is what I did that was different than almost anybody I've heard of. I went and picked 3 businesses that I wanted to buy that were not for sale.
Yep.
And I hired somebody, a professional-looking guy, because nobody would have taken me seriously. I'm running around in a uniform that says Bob Scolnik, and driving a truck. And I hired a guy to call on these companies. One of them was Muskegon Brake.
Yep.
And it was not for sale, and he didn't want to sell it. But we didn't give up. He went back every month or two. Finally, the individual, his name was Vern Perrin. He started the company in 1945. He got sick. He was pretty sick. And he decided it was time to sell. And that's how I ended up buying it. He died before the deal was done.
Really?
That's another story. It's a lawsuit.
But you worked your way into politics, and now you're a county commissioner and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so it's persistence, it's patience.
Exactly.
And it's hanging in there, even through tough times that got you to where you are.
Look at me.
Yep.
Now, I know that your listeners can't look at me. Like, I'm perfect for radio.
He's dashing.
I'm not dashing.
He's a dashing
I know what
individual.
I am. I know what I am. I'm little. I'm short. I'm not particularly good looking. I'm nothing. I'm not built to be a natural success. But hard work and just doing the right stuff over and over again, it'll get you there.
Yeah. As a commissioner now here for the county of Muskegon, what kind of things do you see coming up in the future? I mean, we were talking a little off the air, and you didn't really tip your hand to what I think, but I think 5 years from now, this is going to be a remarkably different city.
Well, you had mentioned you mentioned when we were talking earlier. You mentioned the casino.
Yep.
I'm on record as being in favor of a casino.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that I'd like to see a casino here from the standpoint of job creation, the economic development that may come with it, may not come with it.
Yep. But it's a draw.
It's definitely a draw, but I hope we're not defined by the casino.
No. And I've said since day one that the casino can be a good draw, but it's going to be incumbent upon Muskegon to give people that are coming to it. And from the looks of things now, it's going to be Fruitport. I mean, that's closer and closer all the time.
That's the spot for it,
right,
in my mind.
But now, what is Muskegon going to do to go, okay, come 5 more miles down the road and enjoy everything in the city?
I don't know.
That's
but
the job.
Andy, I have a little bit of experience that most people don't have.
Yep.
When I owned Muskegon Brake, I owned about a dozen companies. So there was Muskegon Brake, there was other businesses that were associated with it. One of the companies I owned was a company up in Manistee called Auto Brake Sales. It was a small company. There was 4 employees. It was on the main drag. And while I was there, they built a casino.
Mm-hmm.
And they built a prison up there, too. And these were supposed to be the saviors of Manistee County.
Yep.
Well, I can tell you that casino didn't do any good.
No?
It didn't help me one bit.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, the guy that owned the restaurant down the street
No,
probably...
it didn't.
Really? Okay.
No, because that casino up there has a giant hotel, motel with it.
Yep.
And they have restaurants.
Yep.
So you go in there, there's no windows.
Yep.
You don't even know what time it is.
Yep.
And
Well, that's any casino.
You go there, and then they give you a coupon for the restaurant for free or for half off or something. Yeah, you know what people buy? They buy gasoline.
Yep. I'll give you that.
Do they go downtown?
We do. I mean, if my wife and I go up to Manistee, we take a few minutes and stroll through downtown.
You talk to businesses there and ask them how much good that did.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, it did create a lot of jobs, and
Yep.
that was a big deal. I'm not taking that away from it, but I mean, to think that a casino is going to, other than the payroll, the payroll's a big deal.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't think it did a whole lot of good. One of the things about Muskegon, I think our single biggest, I wish I had known we were going to talk about this, or I would have thought about it a little more, but I think our biggest problem is our image.
Yeah.
And people love, if you live here, there's nothing better than saying bad things about Muskegon.
Even still, I've been here. I grew up in Sparta, which is about 30 miles east of here. And as a kid, I remember all my great memories were focused around Muskegon. You came here for the mall, you came here for the beach, you came here, as you got a little older, you came here for concerts and all that kind of stuff. And it's changed, but, when I got here to stay, hit my bike. When I got here to stay, I realized what the secret is here in Muskegon, and it's the fact that there are really good people who refuse to acknowledge the fact that every time you turn on the TV news or read something in the paper, Muskegon's getting another black eye. And I think that to me, moving here when I did, I had an alcohol problem and a couch. And the life that has been carved out for me here is nothing short of a miracle. And I believe that. And I'm going to go to my grave saying that Muskegon did that for me.
I couldn't agree with you more, Andy. If I look at where I started, now I told you where I started.
Yep.
Other than that little savings I had nothing. I mean, and I look back at what this community has done for me.
Yep.
And that's why I've spent the last 20 years almost giving back.
Yep.
I mean, I'm trying to make this a better place. I mean, I'm not only putting time into it, I'm putting,
money,
a significant amount of my own money in it.
Yep.
I think the image thing, go to Grand Rapids and ask the average person what they think about Muskegon.
Oh, I know.
I talked to somebody the other day and they said, well, I've only been at Muskegon twice. I mean, they're 40 miles. It takes 40 minutes. How many times have you driven to Grand Rapids?
100. Wait a minute.
Thousands.
I can narrow it down to the last year. I think there was a ballpark for about 360 days I drove to Grand Rapids.
But they don't come here.
Right. No. It's like a moonshot.
It's a moonshot.
Yeah. You just can't imagine that it's that far away.
So how do we change that? I've been giving this some thought, and I chair, as a county commissioner, I chair what's called the Community Development and Strategic Planning Committee.
Yep.
It's not a big committee. I mean, we don't make momentous decisions and spending things. But I've been talking to Bob Lukens, the director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I'm thinking about doing something in terms of a community-wide summit.
Yep.
To figure out what can we do to improve our image. I mean, gee whiz, you go on the news and, it's like a shooting. There's a shooting in Grand Rapids nobody even knows about.
Yep.
We have a shooting, and it's all over the country.
I know it. I mean,
there's shootings there. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But, it happens.
It does. I agree. And like I said 100 times, it's the black eye. It's the one city within West Michigan that everybody's okay with giving it a kick in the pants. You know what? It's like you're walking down a hall in school and somebody puts a sign on you that says "kick me," and that's kind of what.
Well,
it is.
part of it, though, I think, is the if you look over the last 10 or 15 years of Muskegon, I mean, it really had its downturn.
Yeah, and
where if you look at the other cities, you look at Grand Haven and Holland, they pretty much were able to sustain. But there was something about Muskegon that it went, and it's a kind of another city that's going through the same thing as Greenville right now. Yep. I mean, Greenville, when Electrolux pulled out and they lost basically their whole manufacturing base, Greenville now is starting to turn around, and I think Muskegon is doing the same thing.
I couldn't agree more.
I mean, you've got these areas that are building up, and that whole area on the north end there, that the whole with the little microbrewery and the whole little shopping district, retail district, it's really starting to come back. And you can say the same thing if you want to relate it to a bigger city. Look what happened in Grand Rapids. I mean, if you and I, Andy, were both working in Grand Rapids pre-Van Andel Arena.
Oh, yeah. You could have shot a
that
candle
whole
off.
area down there was desolate. There was nothing
vacancy.
down there. Those buildings that are now are thriving retail industries and bars and restaurants, those were nothing but shells of old manufacturing and warehouses.
That's all they were.
And I think you're going to see the same thing here in Muskegon. It eventually is going to come back and it's going to boom, but it needs to turn around, and I think you're starting to see that process happening now, which is good.
I'll tell you what, Bob, hold your thought. We're going to do a quick break here, and we'll divide this up into a couple of different conversations to put online. But we're talking to Bob Scolnik, County Commissioner. You've got a big show coming up at the Frauenthal this weekend that we want to give a plug to, too. And there's even an ulterior motive to the show. Ooh, mystery. Stand by. Talking with Bob Scolnik this morning right here on Muskegon's 100.9.